Hello and welcome everybody to my channel abit_hex, and you already saw it in the thumbnail, in the title. Somebody made a slander video about Hex, about my life. They are slandering hard and I want to react today. I already saw the video when it came out about 2 weeks ago, but obviously I did not have any time yet, so this is why my reaction comes a little bit late. But better than later than nothing, never, right? Let's look into the chat here and how many people we have watching. Just a couple of people, so feel free to like and subscribe, and also tweet it out on Twitter so the whole Hex community gets to see my reaction video, because Hex is being slandered as and accusationed as a cult since 3 years. Just recently, we were celebrating 3 years of flawless operation and 100% uptime, 10,000 X and 95% dips. And while everything left and right is going down, like Celsius and FTX, and the SBF guy in prison right now, I think, the Hexicans and Richard Hart still staying really, really strong, being accused as being a cult, but still earning yield in crypto every single day. So Dennis Hexbound already in the chat saying hi here. Thanks, Dennis, for being here. Thanks for the shout out, and please give me a like and subscribe, and let's have this chat rolling. Please ask a couple of questions if you think it suits, because now let's go into a screen share and let's look at the video that this guy was actually making about Hex. It's called The Cult of Hex Upper Echelon. He's already phrasing it like it is definitely a cult, and you see here on the right side we already have a couple of Hexicans making reactions videos about it. So the video is 26 minutes long. Whenever I think it is time to skip a little bit, then I will do so, because I want to specifically talk about the slandering, about ABIT_HEX, about myself, right? I cannot just let it go. I have to confront this guy. Upper Echelon, well, first of all, I think the video is professionally made. I think you can see that this guy was putting some effort in there. And yeah, I think I will be really fair reacting to this video. I have already seen it, but now I want to see it again with you guys to refresh, and let's see all the bad things that people have to say about Hex, and then let's see how we can react to that. So let's start this. Please give me feedback if you guys have good audio and everything, if everything is working in the chat, because then we can still change. But 26 minutes video, I'll play now.
What is HEX? What are Hexicans? And what is the definition of financial freedom? For anyone curious, allow me to show you.
2 years ago, I was in a horrible place in my life. I was homeless, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and I was divorcing my wife by then. I had no hope, no goals, and I was just living day to day. Then I found out about Richard, and he helped me so much with his self-help books and videos that it changed my life completely. I was so thankful to find somebody who could now help me and give me the motivation to be successful in life. I started learning about Hex, and it made me financially free. This was a point.
So this is the introduction of our 5555 tour documentary. And I'm so glad that he gave me the word in the beginning of the video, because now I get to express how my journey is with Hex, right? I think people were seeing that I was seriously living in a small box, right? I could not even stand up in this box, and I was living in there for 1 year. And I found out about Hex from just a normal YouTube video. You saw that in the video here as well. Maybe we can scroll back a little bit. Here you see it. Richard Hart made so many self-help books and videos, and this is how I found out about Richard. This is how I became a fan of Richard. And Richard taught me so many useful and great things that I was able to change my life by just this advice that he gave me. Totally insane. And then I found out he made a cryptocurrency. I was a fan from Hex from the beginning, I must say. So really glad that the guy shows my video from the beginning here to give me the first word in his video. I think this is really fair. Let's continue watching. Great that he shows where I'm coming from, and I think now people can see where are we going with this.
That it changed my life completely. I was so thankful to find somebody who could now help me and give me the motivation to be successful in life. I started learning about HEX and it made me financially free. This was the point when Hexicans and I started a YouTube channel. We understood that we have an amazing financial product in front of us that will make us financially free. And now we have to build a community. We have to bring our friends and families along with us on this journey.
For me.
So let's react to something that the Hex line is always telling me. Right? The Hex line is saying, I should not push the advertising to friends and family so much, but then I'm always telling the Hex community, I'm telling my friends, man, it's so important for me because it changed my life and I want you to have the same experience as me. So that's why it was so important for me to get my friends and family in as well. Of course, not everybody was listening. The people that did, they were really happy though. And now I understand that there is a lot of hate, especially in crypto. Crypto is really tribal. Why? Because in our opinions, it's not only our opinions, it's also some money that is involved in those opinions, right? And so this upper echelon guy is probably really trying to help some people. But look at me, I'm also trying to help people. But let's figure out where there is the misconception between upper echelon and the Hex community, because now we see that we made some interviews with Hexicans, and that's what he is showing now as well. So let's dive into it.
It takes on new meaning as time goes on. The first part of it was monetary success. The next part of it comes that you feel like you're part of a community, some different type of community that, you know, is not looking for money, but is already got their capital, you know, and they're doing things and they're making things happen. A lot of love going on. There's a lot of overlapping care. Hexicans helping Hexicans, you know, and everyone's got open arms, you know.
Call it a scam. Nobody.
And yeah, I think that's exactly summarizing my experience as well. Hexicans helping Hexicans. We went on tour to preach about Hex, and now I'm using this word preach in the context of being a cult. But yeah, that's what we did. I wanted to teach everybody out there that there is a financial product that you can use to find financial freedom without a middleman. And the thing why I'm so adamant about it is that everybody is promoting middlemen left and right. Everybody loves middlemen. And I have the feeling the Hexicans, they are truly in DeFi, decentralized finance. They like get rid of the middlemen, and everybody is hating on us for exactly that reason. You have to understand a lot of people in crypto. I'm not talking about Echelon here now. I'm talking about general people in crypto. The crypto YouTuber is probably making money off crypto exchanges because they have referral links, because they get their viewers wrecked, and so on and so on. And of course, this is one big reason why Hex is so hated by so many people in the crypto community, because we get rid of the middleman, we get rid of the exchanges, because we are like Bitcoin really wanted to be decentralized and getting rid of big banks. And in crypto, the people did not realize they were just swapping out the banks for exchanges. Now we have the exchanges like Binance being one of the biggest, controlling everything, because FTX went down, right? FTX being down, one of the big points today why I'm staying strong here, making this video, even though upper echelon with like 600,000 subscribers is bashing my name, HEX. And what you see here right now, Freddy Quotes, for example, another artist, was performing in Las Vegas for the Hexicans when we had the Hex fashion show, and I was cutting this video, and that's probably why this guy upper echelon got this video in here as well. He's probably following me on Instagram because that's where I'm posting this. He's probably following me on YouTube. He's probably one of my biggest fans, because from what I have seen, his research is probably a little bit deeper than just looking into it really quick. He is probably following me since a couple of weeks already. So let's continue.
Nobody really cares. We can tell you the only one that ain't prepared. Oh yes, I'ma be a millionaire. 5, 5, 5, 5, a couple trillion shares. Oh no, I ain't getting wrecked again. Rich, we ain't a.
You won 5,000 hex. Your future is pretty much set. You don't have to work ever again in your life.
And obviously, this little clip here is obviously not taken out of context. This, you see it on the bottom left, there is a little logo that's not in our trailer, right? This was a specific clip and it's a little bit taken out of context. So in 42 cities, the Crypto Sparbuch team, KSB TV, was traveling across America to do workshops for free in 42 cities. We will see that in a second here in the video as well. And at every single stop, we were giving away 5,555 hex from our onboarding wallet. You see here the hex line with a little girl giving away 5,555 hex because this little girl actually won some crypto. And isn't that the ethos of crypto? Anyways, since the beginning, we have seen people in Bitcoin making workshops, making events like this to bring out the word about decentralized finance, about making people handling their own money and giving the power back to the people. So we are now doing this as well, but we are getting yelled at like we are a cult, like we are doing something bad, when all we are doing is educating, bringing love, and bringing money to the people, in this case, a little girl here. And you will also now see a little example that we had where I made a calculation being funny that it was also made and taken out of context here.
I did the calculation for my friend, right? And I staked out 5,000 hex for my friend for 10 years. And I did the calculation, bro, you're a millionaire already.
Right, the fun thing is we give out 5,555 hex, which was at that time, you see it here in the picture, $2,700. We were just giving this away at every single stop. Of course, the price went down since then. We are all in the bear market. Bitcoin is down, Ethereum is down, and also hex is down. But my calculation and my statement that I did here, the 5,555 hex, if you hold onto it to the next bear market, where hex might be $7 or more, we don't know that, it can turn into $40,000. And if you are a regular person, if you go to school and have your school debt, if you bought a car, if you bought a house, if you have your family, you are probably in debt. At least this is what it is in Germany. And when you are given the opportunity to make $40,000, this is already life-changing, even if it takes 1 or 2 years. So I think it's a little bit sad that he's taking things out of context, but obviously I understand. He is a content creator and he is looking for content that he can react to. So he is obviously also cutting in a manner that favors him and that favors his arguments. So look, we are here now 2 minutes 30 into the video. The video will go way, way longer today. And I think he is almost done with showing our stuff. And then it's just statement of him and I will react.
Long story short, Hex is a cult.
Very dramatic introduction.
What is
like
the
it.
definition of a cult? According to Merriam-Webster, a cult is defined as great devotion to a person, idea, object, movement, or work. Often connected to the concept of ritualized sacrifice, cults are typically built around some sort of charismatic figure and held to.
And all of those things that he's reading of the cult, what is a cult? I mean, that fits actually pretty good to Hex, I must admit. If I'm really objective and if I put myself into the head of Upper Echelon, I would probably think that Abed Hex is in a cult as well. All the things are just checked. We have a really charismatic leader. We have people doing things above and beyond their possibilities, right? Crypto Sparbuch, 2 normal guys with a team, obviously, Hexline and I, went across America with supercars, 42 workshops, thousands of people learned about Hex, and we went above and beyond with our obligation to talk about Hex, and we did it anyways. And why is that? Well, Upper Echelon is calling it a cult. Me personally, I want to be genius. So I think I'm just a fan. I think I'm a fan of Richard Hart, just like somebody is a fan of a soccer club or a football club. Those people sometimes are really aggressive too, especially in Germany. In Germany, we have like crazy people about soccer and they do crazy stuff. So I'm just a favor of Richard Hart and Hex, and making people rich. This is what I want to do. I want to make a change in the world. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I do not believe HEX is a cult. I'm actually thinking it's a great, great response that Echelon said HEX is good for Richard Hart, for me, for the HEX community. This is actually positive words. Like if you are described being a cult without being a cult, right? This is amazing. We have achieved great things, making this community united. And obviously those hater words, they unite us as a community even more and more and more. So fun to see. Let's continue.
Held together with strict religious control. In 1968, for example, created by David Berg, a group now known as the Family International was formed, where hippies and unchurched youth were taken in, sheltered, and provided for inside isolated communes.
So you see, he is now really looking into what is a cult, and then he's trying to put HEX into this position as well. Obviously, a cult, like you were just hearing it here, people were provided mentally or with food or with shelter, and then obviously they felt some kind of obligation to follow this cult. In HEX, it's totally the opposite, though. I do not understand why people think Richard is providing for everybody anything. Richard is barely speaking to the HEX community. He does barely do videos, right? When he does videos, obviously they're 8 hours long, but he's not like talking to the Hexicans, like wasting his time. He is actually building better things for us to thrive. So there is nobody who's getting paid by Richard. Nobody is getting told what to do by Richard. And this is one of the most things that I like the most being in the HEX community. It really gives me the free space to express myself and do the things the way I want to do it. And I'm not get it hated by my community, how I do things. And how Richard does the things, it gives me exactly this free space to do that. I just want to mention where Richard was installing a bidet, for example, where Richard is washing his own stuff in the bathtub. I love this kind of stuff because it shows how real Richard is and what kind of leader he is. All right, let's continue.
According to anyone inside the cult at the time, David Berg was simply the iconoclastic familiar children of God. Focusing on the concept of recruitment, David Berg instructed, or rather inspired, his followers to share this dogma around the world, agents and mechanism of financial freedom. Hex token is designed from the ground up to create wealth, but what if I told you that all it does, all it has ever done, and all it will ever do forever into the future is destroy?
And here I must say that's the first time where he deliberately says something bad, right? Hex is the only thing Hex does is destroy, when actually, in fact, it's the opposite. Hex is building. I mean, all Hex is, I wish I had a calculator here, it is a calculator, right? It is just a code. And if you put in 2 + 2 into the calculator, what does the calculator says? It is 4, and Hex does nothing else. It is a smart contract that has to abide by the medical rules, right? It is audited. It has no admin keys. This means nobody, not even the founder, Richard Hart, can go into the smart contract and make some changes. And this is great because now we have this piece of code that inflates by 3.69% under certain rules. However, the market of Hex is participating in a certain way. The haters, obviously, they do not understand that. They do not understand that Hex has a fixed inflation rate of 3.69% and does nothing else but produce more Hex. This is the whole philosophy of Hex. And he said it actually in the beginning right well. The only thing why Hex was invented is to make financial freedom for the people. Hex was designed to pump. Even more specific, Hex was designed to pump 10,000x in under 2 years. And how come Richard can make such a good prediction about his own coin? Well, all Richard Hart did was look at Bitcoin, look at Ethereum. What did those coins do in a same time frame? And they did 10,000x. Hex was designed to be better than Bitcoin, to be better than Ethereum. And how is that? Well, I think every cryptocurrency, first of all, is designed to perform good in price, right? Maybe Zen is not. So not every cryptocurrency. Hex was designed to perform good in price, right? So what is the most important thing about price performance? It's buying and selling. And Richard Hart was able to figure that out that buying and selling is the only thing that matters, right? So he made people do the only thing that actually matters for a price, which is locking up value and putting it into the future. And this delayed gratification gave us Hexicans not only financial freedom, it gave me also freedom in my head. Because in the video, in the trailer, you saw that I said that eventually I became financially free with HEX. But since all my HEX is in a staking ladder, like I still have to calculate how much is my budget every month or every year and come to term with my next staking ladder, right? So let's continue. The first bad words that I was hearing, that HEX is just destroying. I don't agree at all. I think he's wrong. HEX is not destroying. HEX is building. The only thing HEX is doing is inflating. And who is getting the inflation? That's now really important. The inflation gets paid out to the staker class. Whoever believes into the system the most and whoever shows the most trust in the system gets the most inflation. So let's continue.
That kind of statement will inevitably cause backlash. Those who are stuck in the maze of cult ideology are not typically capable of rational thought. Worse yet, for those currently trapped inside the world of HEX, followers aren't just ensnared by dogmatic rhetoric, they're actually protecting their own investments. However, to explain this, we need to look at what HEX is, where it came from, and who is the leader responsible. This is Richard Hart. To be clear, Richard Hart is an alias. His actual name is Richard J. Schuller, but we'll address that later in the video. Richard is a quintessential charismatic leader. Inspiring his fans around the world, he has produced a token called HEX, which is advertised as a mechanism where they will become financially free. But what if all of it was a lie? Hex.com is an interesting...
And now it's going to be interesting. Now he is trying to list all the facts why HEX is a lie and why HEX is not right. And the fun thing is, for me, it is so easy to debunk, right? I'm in HEX since 3 years. I hear those claims from people all the time. So it's going to be fun to listen at it and debunk those arguments. So let's see.
Interesting place. Advertising a near 40%, 38% to be exact, annual return on staked tokens, a number higher than what is possible anywhere else in the entire crypto or traditional finance ecosystem when staked.
So here it starts out already really good. Like he sees the number 38% and he is already on the fence. He is saying, this is not possible. The banks do not give us that much. FTX does not give me that much. Celsius doesn't. He has no freaking idea how HEX works. Just today, I was talking to my buddies about the 38% APY. And of course, if you are a new staker and if you start staking today, even for 15 years, the return of investment won't be 38% right away. You have to wait and delay gratification, because now maybe we can go into where does the inflation go to, right? Where does the money come from? We already said that the money comes from the inflation. HEX inflates by 3.69%. And where does that money go to? It goes to the staker class. Whoever stakes the most, whoever has the most T-shares gets the most inflation. And the point is, if you are an average staker, and what is the average staking duration? 6.5 years. So if you and all your stakes have an average staking duration of 6.5 years, then you get the 38% APY. So let's say you have an average staking duration of 10 years. You would even get 40 to 50% APY. But if we tell people this, that they then can even earn more, they will probably freak out even more and they will try to bring us to jail right away, because 38% APY is just too much for them. But luckily, I can go to go.hex right now. I can check my stakes and I see, yes, I have stakes returning me 38% or even more. And you can do that too. It's really, really easy. It's just code. And the code has to do what it does. It is programmed to do exactly what it does. It is audited, and all the Hexicans for 3 years, they're able to lock up their HEX, lock it for a period of time that they choose, and we're able to end stake at any given moment. HEX is up 100%, flawless, no downtime, while everything else is falling left and right. So look, he looks at this, 38%, other people cannot give it to us, it must be a scam. Like, what kind of argument is that? Really, really soft argument, I must say. Really, like, where does he get these kinds of arguments? But it's going to be fun in the next argument as well.
A number higher than what is possible anywhere else in the entire crypto or traditional finance ecosystem when staked for an average of 7 years. HEX is viewed by its community as a vehicle to uncapped personal wealth. I won't focus too heavily on technical aspects of the smart contract or devolve into frivolous details, but
And I think that's exactly what he should have done. He should have called some of us Hexicans and asked about technical details to understand better about the financial instrument that we are using to gain financial freedom. This is all what HEX is. It's a tool for you to gain financial freedom. So let's continue with the things that he's saying, because it's going to be really fun with all the wrong things that he's going to bring up.
the gist of it is that HEX allows people to buy, stake, and earn interest by holding the token. Staking is a critical thing to understand here, because staking is a mechanism by which users will lock their tokens behind a certain time limit. Upon entering the HEX ecosystem, you are highly incentivized, even pushed is the word I would use, into the world of staking, because the more you stake and the longer you agree to have it locked away, the more interest you will earn as a result. HEX as a token
And
is high.
here we must say, where does this idea come from, right? Yes, Richard Hart is a genius founder of the HEX token, but the philosophy of the HEX game theory, Richard was just copying off the banks, because that is what works. If you lock up your money in a bank, they will give you a couple of percent. So this is exactly what Richard was copying. And if you lock up your money in a bank longer, you get more return of investment. And this is exactly what HEX is mirroring. HEX is mirroring the certificate of deposit, where you can now deposit your HEX, decide yourself how long you want to stake, and then at the end of the duration, you can just receive your HEX again and fund your lifestyle how you like it. A true financial tool without a middleman to make yield in crypto. How unbelievable is that?
To have it locked away, the more interest.
I don't think that we are really pushing the people to stake. I'm pushing the people to look into HEX and then decide themselves what they want to do. The most important thing is that you make the research about HEX, because then I think it is a no-brainer for you to invest in something like this that has outstanding returns. The 10,000x, 38% APY, has an amazing community. Everybody is just benefiting from each other. I mean, my life is it showcases what can HEX help you with when you become part of the community, of the ecosystem, and if you learn how to utilize these financial tools to your benefit.
Interest you will earn as a result. HEX as a token is highly inflationary.
Maybe at this point I can also say, Crypto Sparbuch and KSBTV, we have always been educators on T-shares and how long do you need to lock up your HEX to get this kind of return. HEX is a dynamic system, right? If more people are staking and locking up the HEX, as less yield the people will earn. It's a self-balancing system, really, really interesting. And this is what we are teaching. And now with these kinds of information on the workshops, we were teaching the people, look, you can hold your HEX liquid, but HEX inflates by 3.69%, and we see what happens with your dollar value once you just hold your dollars liquid and do not invest. Well, you get diluted, and this is just the truth. This is what we are educating. We are educating the people on how to have a good staking ladder, to have a good risk management, right? Me personally, for example, I say that all the time. I have a staking ladder that has stakes ending every year to my birthday. It's called the HEX birthday staking ladder. And it's beautiful because I never get into the position where I do have to emergency end stake because I really, really need some money right now. I can just wait a couple more months until my next stakes are coming out and then live my life on the beach. I think here in the chat, somebody said it already. Abed is in Mexico. Yes, that's where I am enjoying my time until Pulsechain comes out.
More of it is generated every single time that tokens are unstaked. And when the marketing, branding, and advertising for HEX is built around the idea that you will someday be rich, it means that users have a hard-coded expectation of return.
Let's go back here.
Result. HEX as a token is highly inflationary. More of it is.
Is it highly inflationary? Is this true? Is HEX highly inflationary? Does this guy even know what is inflation? So, Bitcoin inflation, I can already tell you, was like way higher than HEX inflation in the first couple of years, right? Bitcoin was actually inflating like crazy, like 50 BTC per click, right? Richard was talking about that. The miners were producing Bitcoin like crazy in the ecosystem. And when was it the best time to get into Bitcoin? to make the most gains? It was when the inflation was the highest. So first, we see here inflation is not a bad thing. And now let's look at the HEX inflation. The HEX inflation is 3.69%. Like, can it even be any lower than that? Yes, it can, because in HEX, the people have an average staking duration of 6.5 years. So this means the inflation is even delayed into the future. If I make a HEX stake, I'm telling the smart contract, look, I'm taking 100,000 HEX and I'm staking it for 10 years. So I want to have my 100,000 HEX plus all the interest in 10 years. So when am I able to print the inflation? The answer is in 10 years. So KSBTV, we are always doing our Power of T-Share presentation on the HEX online conference. For example, the next one will be in January 6th, where we will be talking about what is the actual inflation in HEX. We need to understand that the maximum inflation that the coin produces is 3.69%, but the actual inflation, because it's delayed by so many Hexicans since they stake, is way, way lower. And last year, when we did the Power of T-Share presentation, we found out that the actual HEX inflation was like 1% in the year of 2021. And now I'm really excited to see and calculate what will be the HEX inflation in 2022. I think it's not going to be too much apart from like 1-2%, something in this range, because the Hexicans are delaying all this inflation for 6.5 years. This average staking duration is just going up and up and up. And since HEX is hard mathematical law, it's crazy what the Hexicans are doing in locking up more and more money for longer and longer and longer, because in weighted average staking duration means you need to have a lot of 15-year stakes with a lot of volume to make this average staking duration going up. You guys understand that? So this is a Nobel Prize worthy thing by itself, to have people locking up that much money. I think it's around $1 or $2 billion for 6.5 years. Amazing.
It is generated every single time the tokens are unstaked.
So here is another thing, like we just talked about it, right? He thinks 3.69% inflation is crazy, 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 not understanding that this inflation is only coming to fruition, really to fruition, when the Hexicans are ending their stakes. Most Hexicans are ending their stakes in an average duration of 6.5 years. And this is the reason why the actual inflation in 2021, for example, was only 1%. No high inflation at all. And with this low inflation, HEX was doing 10,000x, and I believe it can do that again.
And when the marketing, branding, and advertising for HEX is built around the idea that you will someday be rich, it means that users have a hard-coded expectation of return.
So this is a really fun argument as well. So HEX was designed to do 10,000x in price appreciation. That's what I said in the beginning, right? Why is that? Every company, everything in the world is actually designed to appreciate in price. If you do not do that smart, then after 1 year, your restaurant, your company, your coin will just be disappearing. Who is interested in a financial instrument, into a company, into whatever, if the price doesn't go up? There are just few things in the world where people like this are interested in this. In crypto, we are only interested because the price goes up. And this is why HEX was designed to appreciate in price. So now, people like Upper Echelon, people that hate on HEX, right? They do not understand what makes a price go up and down. They do not know it's buyers and sellers. And they have no idea about the HEX mechanics. And that's why let's look more into the video and let's debunk more of those myths.
That's important because expectation of return is something that Richard Hart seems very keen to avoid.
Self-help. Well, how many HEX have you sold personally?
How many HEX have you sold personally, right? Like Richard Hart gets accused with this all the time. When in HEX, everything is on a blockchain. Every single transaction, every single cent is transparent, and you can see yourself what he did. This gold bug here, Schaefer, I think is his name, asked Richard Hart, did you sell any HEX? Well, Richard, obviously smart as he is never talking about his own money, right? Why would it how would it benefit anybody if Richard would publicize how he transacts on the internet? Nobody has to do that. We have to have privacy in order to have a capitalist society. So I already said everything is transparent. You can look into the HEX smart contract yourself and check what are the biggest holders in the smart contract and are they selling? And the answer is plain and simple no. We have a lot of Hexicans looking at those numbers. If there are, is there any movement? And if there were, I would know. I have not seen anything besides some small things where the OA is actually acting in the behalf of the Hexicans. What that means, we can maybe look into that a little bit later on if it comes up in the video. So we can see that the OA, the holder of one of the biggest addresses in Hex, never sold a single coin. I think that's amazing because that's exactly what Satoshi Nakamoto did as well. And with Bitcoin, we have seen that this was a really, really good tactic. You want to have holders that never sell. And I think this is exactly what Richard Hart is doing.
If you look publicly, it looks like zero, but I can't tell you because Howey test, right?
So you've never sold any hex and taken any cash? You just have all the hex.
Let's go over the rumors. Let's go over the rumors. You used to be able to transform. I'm answering your question with more words if you relax. I can't tell you about my finances because Howey test. I can't tell you about my finances because expectation of value based on what I do. No, if you think the value is going to go up or down based on what I do, it's an expectation. I don't give people expectations.
The Howey test has to do with work effort that you are expending on your part. If you simply tell people,
I think it's so clear that Hex is not a security, that nobody has expectation of the works of others. Nobody has expectation for me, from Abit Hex, to do anything. Yes, I do certain things because I love doing them. Richard Hart does certain things because he also wants to bring out the word. All the Hexicans are bringing out the word because they love what they are doing, and Hex has changed their life. So now they want to give back, and that's the only reason why we are doing what we are doing.
That's work
of your own. No, but
yes, giving people assumptions about your future behavior is forward-looking statement. Is fucking bog standard.
It's just a yes or no question.
Of Hex marketing used to drive further adoption and increase token value by onboarding fresh users. Subway screens, taxis, bus banners, trucks, magazines, even NASCAR sponsorships, and direct mail marketing postcards sent out all across the country from California to Florida. All of this specifically.
Well, also it has been distributed all around the world. We have Amsterdam, we have the UK, those were the taxis, we have Germany. We have Asia being a really big market. Australia, oh my God, the Australian Hexicans are so good also with their direct marketing. But obviously the most is going on in America. That's where we had the, let's go back. That's where we had
bus banners, trucks, magazines, even
bus banners, the NASCAR, the magazines, the Hex postcards. That's where we had our workshops. Obviously, America is the market. And I did not really understand where the criticism is on all those things. How can it be criticized if you publicize crypto, a tool that makes the people financially free, that takes away the power from the banks and from big government and gives it back to the people? Isn't that what America stands for? Isn't that exactly what America wants? And Upper Echelon acts like he is from Soviet Union somewhere, hates crypto. I don't understand. Where is this? Like, can we not advertise anymore? Can we not say, I like the color red? It is not possible, I believe. But let's see. At least I did not understand where the actual, where is the bad thing about talking about crypto on the internet? I don't get it.
NASCAR sponsorships and direct mail marketing postcards sent out all across the country from California to Florida. All of this specifically designed to broaden the public awareness of Hex and fuel increased demand.
Just like anything in the world. So just recently, I don't know in what country it was, this all the same in everywhere. You have elections, right? So we have people that say, hey, vote for me because I'm going to do this and this and this. We vote and they never do. But it's not going anywhere, right? So this is okay. But in Hex, where we have a smart contract, where we know, okay, if I put in my stuff and wait for that long, I get that much back and it's 100%, that's a bad thing. I do not get that.
For some, that may seem innocent or uninteresting. They see these types of ads every single day, so why does it matter? But when building a foundation, the knowledge that Hex as a community has spent an incredibly large amount of money on acquiring fresh users is very important. Let's focus. Community has spent in types of ads.
Who spends money? Yes, I spend money. All my friends spend money in order to talk about the things we love. And is this not possible anymore? Can I not have a hobby? Can I not do things and talk to people? Like, are we living in Soviet Union or is this America, upper echelon? I do not understand that. Please tell me, where have you been living all the time? Like, is it not possible to talk about the things you truly love, about the things that there is a community built around it that helps the people? Go to KSB TV, our channel, and look at all the amazing testimonials we have by Hexicans that their life were changed by Hex, by Richard Hart, and by the things we are teaching.
Every single day, so why does it matter? But when building a foundation, the knowledge that
I would like to know, where does he has the idea that Richard Hart is paying for all those ads? I mean, everything I do is on the internet. Everything I do is on the internet. I'm really genuine with that. When I started traveling about 2 years ago, right? I made videos that I'm going to Mexico. I made videos that I'm eating in restaurants. Then I started the 5555 tour and I made videos about Hexicans making testimonials, how Hex has changed their life. I made workshops teaching the people what Hex is. And we did all of that as a community effort with our own money. Did not get paid by anybody, but still somebody like Upper Echelon can just make a defamation video about Abed Hex, about Hex being a cult and not having his facts straight at all. I'm getting pissed now, but I think I should just continue clicking play.
That Hex as a community has spent an incredibly large amount of money on acquiring fresh users.
So I think I want to say this is totally wrong. Like, there is no money coming from an entity to pay for ads. All that we are doing is talking about the things that we love, doing the things that we do to teach the people about this financial instrument. But it's not like anybody's paying for all of those things. Would I wish sometimes there was somebody paying? Obviously, but it's all coming out of my own pocket. And that's what everybody in the Hex community is doing. I really don't understand where the haters get the idea from that somebody is paying that. You know what? Maybe this phenomenon is so new, of this phenomenon of generosity is so new to the people. They probably do not understand that we live in a world of financial abundance. I do not want to see hungry kids in the streets of America asking for dollars, asking for food. For Upper Echelon, this is a normal scenario though. I want to teach the people that they can have the power in their own hand with Hex and earn yield decentralized without having to work for somebody else and realizing their dreams. I want you to realize your dreams.
Is very important. Let's focus once again on the idea of expected return. Richard Hart, with extreme precision, I might add, plays a series of semantic games whenever he discusses Hex, the community, or potential returns. Similar to his unwillingness to engage in forward-looking statements or discuss expected returns, or even just say whether or not he has sold any Hex tokens ever, we can see an equally obvious effort to redefine existing tax law.
I got another question. Why did you choose to let, if you think Bitcoin...
So he's making the argument that Richard Hart is professional, that Richard Hart is taking and making sure he's using the right words when talking to the community, to other people in interviews, and when talking about his money or Hex in general. And why is that? I think that's really important to understand. We live in a world that is so over-regular, so many laws. In every single step in your life, you will see there are laws regulating everything. So we are living in a world of cancel culture where you have to make sure to not say even the wrong things, because you can get canceled just like this. And then also we are in the world of financial instruments, obviously, and there are some more regulations, and we have to make sure that Hex is not a security, right? Richard Hart designed Hex as a financial instrument to not be a security. And now it is just obvious that you have to handle your financial instrument as not being a security. And why would you say things that actually destroy all your things that you built in the past of Hex not being a security? Why would you make forward-looking statements about your product when you cannot do that anyways? Yes, Richard Hart was able to call the Bitcoin top twice, but he never will make forward-looking statements about his crypto, because this would make exactly what the haters want. That would make forward-looking statements. That would have us expectations, and this would make HEX a security. We do not want that. That's why I'm really proud of Richard Hart being professional, using the right words at all time.
Bitcoin sucks so much. Why are you letting people collect HEX by snapshotting their Bitcoin private keys as opposed to their Ethereum keys?
Okay, Ton Weiss here, he's arguing, okay, if you hate Bitcoin, Richard, if you hate Bitcoin so much, why do you give HEX to Bitcoin people? And I think that's really easy. You want to distribute your coin. I mean, you want to give HEX to everybody in this world. So why not give it to the people that already hold crypto? And with the Bitcoin people in the past, Richard Hart liked the Bitcoin people, so he wanted to give them a little bit of this free money, which turned out amazingly 10,000x. Everybody who did it was really happy, I bet, because they had to hold, remember.
Colloquially called an airdrop.
The reason that I don't like the airdrop term, airdrop means someone else gave you something.
Airdrop means somebody else gives you something, and how Richard did it is that you could sign, if you have a Bitcoin, you could sign in the smart contract that you hold a Bitcoin, trustless, you don't have to give up your seed words, and you would receive a free HEX gift.
I can't possibly give you anything. Only you can give yourself something by having these private keys. I can't give it to you. And when you stake your coins and burn the coins, I can't stop you from doing it. And when you mint your reward, I can't, there's nothing I can do to affect it. I have no fucking effect or control over it whatsoever.
The complaint is the complaint is going to call it an airdrop. So,
well, the reason I don't want to call it an airdrop is because in the United States, you're fucking taxed on your airdrops, aren't you? Right?
No.
And you're taxed on your forks, aren't you? And wouldn't it be cool if this wasn't an airdrop and a fork, right? And then in your jurisdiction, you might have preferential tax treatment.
Yeah, they're going to call it an airdrop.
Well,
and just adding,
I can only do the best I can do, man.
I know,
I can try to fucking make a better thing, and then they can try and make it worse.
You can't semantically, by adding one little function or claim it's one thing and not another, rewrite the.
Well, I think this guy here, well, it is also from an interview, right? So I don't know why this upper echelon choose to have this part that long. I think it's not a big deal at all. They are talking about being an airdrop or not, and obviously Richard Hart using the right words here, and he is saying, well, let's see how the world of the outside will perceive that. I think it's not too interesting anymore, so let's skip a couple of seconds. And
process has been universally in every
plug an address in, and you actually have to push work, so it's not an airdrop.
I mean, Richard explaining it perfect. Only you can do the work. If you lock up your HEX, only you can lock up your HEX. Nobody else can do it for you. Why? Because only you have your private keys, right? And then it comes back to the smart contract. When you end your stake, who will give you the coins? It's not like a person is there and giving you your coins back. No, you give your coins to yourself. All you do is use a code in the computer to mint your own yield. No third party involved, no expectation by other people. Only you can do what you can do.
An airdrop.
Funnily enough, in every single publication, article, and reference out there, the initial free claim process has been universally recognized as an airdrop. Richard Hart is trying to game the system. It's not an airdrop, therefore it might have favorable tax implications. It's not an investment because no one has an expectation of return, even though everyone has an expectation of return. And subsequent airdrops aren't ICOs, initial coin offerings, because you don't buy it, you sacrifice for it. He continues to play these games in a deliberate effort to avoid regulation day in and day out.
So we are in cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is 13 years old, and even though Bitcoin is old technology, I must say we are still very early. Pulsechain is not even out yet. We have still a lot of gray zone when it comes to crypto. And why and who else would not use this gray zone for their advantage in phrasing things this way or that way to favor their own product or their own community? So in the ICO phase, I don't believe the people called it a sacrifice. I think Richard Hart made this word sacrifice prominent in the crypto space to have something where people can now donate their money without expectations and maybe receive something in the future. You see, my words are just as subjective as Richard's using his words at the sacrifice and all these as well, because we do not want to have any expectations. We want this to be a sacrifice where we delay our gratification and we wait for the coin, for pull chain to come out. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Well, it has been over a year and I'm willing to wait even longer. At the beginning of the video, I'm saying I'm here in Mexico to wait for exactly that, for pull chain. And as long pull chain is not out, I'm not going anywhere.
Expanding on this, we need to talk about what sacrificing actually is, because sacrificing is the life's blood of Richard Heart's empire. Traditional ICO sales are relatively straightforward. Buy the token, hope that the token increases in price, and later sell the token. This kind of...
So this is just crypto, what he was explaining, right? Buy Bitcoin, wait for the price to appreciate, and then sell the token again.
Offering is certainly prone to abuse, with early investors often dumping their seed tokens or holdings on future investors after high initial gains. But sacrificing is a league of its own. HEX was not launched with traditional mechanisms, rather than only allowing people to purchase the token.
So and here's also something that I do not understand. I'm excited to hear that now. In HEX, there is no sacrifice, right? We had the adoption phase. We were able to give our Ethereum to receive HEX. There was no expectation and no wait. It was a finished financial product that we can participate right away, start earning yield right away. I was making money with HEX a couple of months after the Godwell bought, getting rid of all my debt, getting out of my bad situation that I was in the past, cleaning up my life. But upper echelon doesn't like that. Upper echelon doesn't like the improvement of the people. He wants everybody to live in Holocaust, I have almost said, but I can say it, I'm German. So he wants the people to be back in the old times in Soviet Union, where nobody has a chance and nobody can make a better living for themselves.
The token directly, which also was possible, thereby expecting to get rich. HEX was also given to everyone so long as they established proof of ownership in Bitcoin. In conjunction,
for free. So if you had Bitcoin, you were able to say, look, I'm owning Bitcoin. Give me some free HEX. This free HEX then the people received, and it was locked up for 1 year. After 1 year, they were able to receive the HEX, and it was worth thousands of X more than it was before. And it was given out for free. So where is the negative thing here about that? Like, who can hate about free money? I don't get it, Echelon. Please tell me. It is something that you would get in a not capitalist country.
In conjunction with this, HEX often broadcasts their number of wallets holding the token as a metric to be proud of. Big user base, high interest, strong project, or at least something like that, I think, is the thought process. It says right on their homepage, 515,000 wallets hold HEX. However, it turns out that over 170,000 of these addresses were given minuscule amounts of HEX in order to drastically inflate the supposed user base.
So now he is bringing out a fact, and he's right with this, right? He is saying that on the main page of hex.com, we see 515,000 wallets own HEX. And then if he looks a little bit deeper, he goes to Reddit and he sees that somebody, a Hexican, was sending out HEX, and he was calling it just a small amount. A small amount of HEX was sent out to a lot of people to make this number of holders higher. And now he just reads that. He doesn't make any research. He doesn't care. He just wants to slander Abet HEX and the HEX community because that's what's giving him clicks. He does not understand that every single person in the world can just send money to everywhere, to everybody. If you have an Ethereum address, you probably received scam coins in the past. And are you outrageous that this happens? Yes, I am too. But I'm not outrageous when I receive HEX because this is actually something worth. But let's dive into this case here. Somebody was distributing a lot of HEX in the early days when HEX was worth basically nothing. And they also didn't do it on Ethereum blockchain because that still costs a lot of money to distribute to 260,000 addresses. So that's how they did it on another blockchain. And I think it wasn't on a layer 2. And I think it was about 100 HEX. And I think he's saying that here as well. 90,000 out of 100 addresses have 100 HEX exact. Right? One address sent HEX to 173,000 addresses in large batches, mostly small amounts of 100 and 101 HEX. So this was made to distribute the coin, obviously, but every single body can do that. If you have HEX and if you have the gas price to sell, to spend this kind of transactions, you can do that. Richard Hart cannot do anything against that. It's a decentralized world, but Upper Echelon probably doesn't understand that. I don't even actually know if Upper Echelon has anything to do with crypto, and it's just making a slander video to hate on people, because that's what you do in Soviet Union. I don't know.
Were given minuscule amounts of HEX in order to drastically inflate the supposed user base, which even now is over 1/3 of the entire community. But at launch, it was barely 200,000 wallets, according to the oldest archive I could find, which means that initially, something like 85% of their token holders in entirety were fake. To put this in context, these wallets were given either 100 or 101 HEX tokens, which means that the value they held wasn't even enough to cover the fees required to sell that many of the tokens.
It is free money, bro. HEX went up 10,000x. If HEX does 10,000x again, this is a huge amount for these people, and they got their money for free. Obviously, if they want to sell, they can sell anytime, but they have to look into the things, right? It's on a layer 2. It is just a little bit of HEX. Like, it is free money. How can you hate on that? Please tell me. I don't understand. I don't understand. Really.
Most people probably didn't even know it was in their wallet in the first place. Funnily enough, I ran into this a long time ago in a completely different project. So yeah, a lot of threads tying back together. At the all-time peak price of HEX, these 170,000 wallets would have each roughly had $40. The price has since come crashing back down to earth. And right now, as of the making of this video, that's nearly 200,000 people that have less than $3 in the project. And yet the website advertises a community that numbers over 500,000. This is where Richard Hart will hide behind his semantics on.
But Funning Jim, thanks for this information here. It cost 250,000 in fees to send out 50,000 worth of HEX. So it was really generous of this person to actually do that, giving away free money. And in the future, I'm pretty sure those addresses will be really happy they received HEX for free, probably not even knowing it is in there, just like Upper Echelon said.
On whether or not this entire process was an airdrop, but what came after was infinitely more interesting. HEX by itself is just one part of a three-headed monster. HEX is the base token, Pulse Chain is the second offering, and Pulse X is the third iteration. In order to engage with Pulse Chain or Pulse X,
this is also one of the best selling points for the Richard Hart ecosystem. HEX being better than Bitcoin, a better store of value that at 10,000x in 2 years. Pulse Chain being the network now where Hexicans can do their business again like they used to in the old times. 100% decentralized without middlemen. Slow, really fast and little transaction cost. We don't get that right now. And then Pulse X being the most liquid exchange. I'm really excited for all those 3 products. Let's see what Upper Echelon has to say.
For those in the HEX community, you need to sacrifice. Rather than purchasing tokens or being awarded tokens based on prior holdings, like the first time with the initial HEX token, investors needed to sacrifice their money and expect nothing in return by sending it to an unknown address. What's more, Richard Hart has dodged answering the question on every single occasion where it's come up, whether or not he owns these addresses, whether or not he owns the founder's address as well, originally responsible for the creation of HEX, which is in fact his smart contract, so how could he not own it, and whether or not he is in control of almost the entire supply.
This one came in from a user on Twitter. Ask Richard who owns the HEX origin account.
Well, you're not supposed to know. It's not publicly known. Worked out good for Bitcoin. Who's Satoshi? Price went up.
Exactly. I was just about to say, just like Satoshi does it really anonymous, right? So just so how many coins do it in the crypto space, being anonymous is actually one of the most important things in crypto, that you have this kind of entity, right, that cannot be stopped by any government. And that's why it's so important that Richard Hart is in this same game as well.
It's went up 690 million.
And Funding Gem here is also making an additional point to the number of wallets of HEX holders, how many wallets there exist. So Monarch Wallet sent out $50,000 of HEX to anyone that downloaded their wallet. So you see, there are even external things that make this the distribution of the coin and that have then at the end result a higher holder number without actually Richard Hart or the HEX community doing anything. So it's external things that the Upper Echelon is criticizing here, because probably he does not fully understand how crypto works.
1,000,000%.
Is it you, Richard?
Nobody knows. Not publicly known. way.
Who controls these?
Nobody knows. Just like Satoshi. Who's Satoshi? Nobody knows. Did he ever dump the price? Nope.
But somebody would have instructed the origin wallet to send to these daughter wallets. So
how do you know it's even a human? Maybe it's a DAO with voting. Maybe it's a machine. Maybe it's a foundation. Maybe it's an African priest. Who knows?
Here's the problem. Sacrificing is intended to circumvent regulation. HEX.
Well, the thing is, I was just explaining it. And by having an entity that is anonymous, it is not possible for the government to come after this entity, right? We have Satoshi Nakamoto being sued by whom? I don't know. Well, I bet you the people, the haters, will try to go after Richard Hart. And luckily, Richard Hart is really professionally looking after the community, using the right words, using the right strategy.
HEX and further ventures like Pulse Chain and Pulse X are purpose-built to avoid existing legal structures, but the process itself, where money is sacrificed, had a leaderboard. When sacrificing with a supposed lack of expected return, even though everyone expected a return here, there was a volume bonus multiplier where the more you sacrificed, the more you got back. This completely shatters the idea that users were not expecting anything back, because every single one of them got something in return with a predefined rule set dictating how much, while being financially incentivized to sacrifice more and more and more. Even further, Richard Hart himself might have been the largest participant in these sacrifices, while refusing to ever acknowledge whether or not he owns the wallets.
So there are two things that I want to talk about here. First of all, what is a sacrifice? We have the Pulse Chain sacrifice, we have the Pulse X sacrifice, and a sacrifice, you guys, is nothing else than a mechanism to distribute coins. So let me ask you something, Upper Echelon, right? You build your own coin. How would you distribute your coin? That it is fair, that is making people have skin in the game, and that people give energy towards your motivation and participate. How would you do that? I would be really interested in that. I think by having a sacrifice set where you incentivize the people to help your cause, being an early investor, and incentivize those people to do all those things, a sacrifice set is perfect. And how it played out with Pulse Chain and Pulse X is that we had a certain set of rules that we knew if I act in this kind of way, I don't have any expectations, but I get certain points. That's totally right. We get certain points, and this is then at the end giving us Pulse Chain. Will this Pulse Chain be worth anything? Well, I don't think so, because you cannot trade it for anything when it comes out, right? Then later on, if I decide to give a Pulse Chain some worth, right, some value, then of course other people will trade that for this. But this is just crypto, and you have to understand how this works. So let me give this back to you, Upper Echelon. How would you make a fair coin distribution where people engage, participate, are early, maybe even formal? How would you do it? I think having a sacrifice with certain rules where everybody is doing this out of their own free will. It's not like they were forced in any kind of way. If you don't do this, then this will happen. No, everything was for free. I decided myself how much I want to get involved. When do I want to get involved, right? This is all the things that I had to decide by myself. Nobody was forcing me ever.
It matters because HEX does not have underlying economic activity to generate value. The entire purpose of the smart contract is to mint inflationary tokens and distribute them to users who have locked theirs away. The longer you agree to lock your money, the more you get back.
So right now, I explained it. HEX mirrors a certificate of deposit. Certificate of deposit really valid by the banks in order to give yield to the people. It has worked for years and years and years, but Upper Echelon doesn't know this. He doesn't know this. He has no idea what a certificate of deposit is and how this works.
However, for HEX tokens to maintain value under the immutable pressure of constant inflationary minting, there needs to be fresh capital entering the system.
So this is exactly not true. It does not need new money to go into the system for me to mint my new HEX. If I stake HEX for a certain period of time that I decide how long, what do I get back? I get back more HEX. And the smart contract, being a smart contract that inflates in HEX, can only always pay me out more HEX. It's just a code. 2 + 2 is 4. It doesn't matter if you like me or not. The smart contract is audited and will always pay me out what I deserve. If I stake HEX for 10 years, then after 10 years, I get back more HEX. I do not get back dollars. So the smart contract is always able to print my HEX. And then when I receive my HEX in my own wallet, I can decide and I can look, what does the market value HEX at this point? Is it really, really high? And do I maybe want to sell something to buy a Lambo? Or maybe do I restake in order to get more yield again? Well, Upper Echelon does not know and understand these kind of mechanisms of delaying gratification, of being early in a coin that is really innovative, that goes up in price 10,000x. He doesn't understand that. He rather hates on people. Really, really hateful.
In fact, in order for HEX to maintain its relative value right now, there will need to be hundreds of millions of dollars injected every single year, like clockwork. Otherwise, the token will crash.
So you see, what does he mean by the token will crash? We are down 95%, just like Amazon, just like Facebook, just like Bitcoin has done that in the past. But when HEX does that, it's fearful, right? Upper Echelon is really fearful. He does not understand how crypto actually works. At this point, I don't believe Upper Echelon is a crypto guy. He's probably just trying to make videos about funny things.
This is important because a huge percentage of people who have been absorbed by the cult are currently sitting on their hands with locked tokens.
So one argument after another is just wrong. Like, I can just pause the video after every single sentence. You can go right now to Crypto Coffee and you can look in HEX. He made this analysis. How much people came into HEX from the beginning of time, from December 3rd, 2019 until the all-time high. It was, I don't know, like a third of what we have now. And how many people came from the all-time high till now? Yes, it is right that we have onboarded more people like in the last couple months. Are they all down? Well, this is just depending on what is their time frame, right? So when I started investing in crypto, right, with HEX, what did I invest on the next day I was rich? No, this is not what we are teaching. This is not what crypto is. In crypto, you hold, you hodl, you hold on for dear life. This is even a thing, Upper Echelon. This is what we do. We hold for dear life to make gains. So you invest. And if you started investing at the all-time high, a lot of Hexicans are actually really happy that the price went down and they're able to accumulate more and more and more, because they know the only thing that matters for price is buying and selling. And we are in a bear market right now. When the buyers are coming again, because economy is getting into the wheel again, and people are spending money again, and people buying crypto again, and are actually speculating, then the price of HEX and all the other cryptos will go up again. And the people that are under, yes, they will be up again. I don't know if I made the point with Crypto Coffee quite right. I think Crypto Coffee explained it way better. Look into his video of how the people are distributed and when they came into HEX. I think this was a really interesting video.
Now, that could be fine temporarily or in the short term, because as long as the number of people injecting fresh capital surpasses the number of people trying to cash out, the price goes up.
And this is just how crypto works, right? If you have more buyers than sellers, the price goes up. This is how everything in the world works. If it's a restaurant, if it's a company, if it's a crypto. I'm actually surprised Upper Echelon knows that.
Basic logic.
But if we have not more buyers than sellers, yes, the price goes down. HEX is down now, right now, 95%. But still, if I go into the smart contract right now, and if I want to end stake my HEX, I can do so. This HEX is just down 95%. But if I wait, and I think Upper Echelon was explaining that as well, if you wait and hodl for dear life, then this will go up again.
But as soon as the number of people coming out of lockup surpasses the number of people buying in, well, this happens. The cold, hard truth here is that without the flashy marketing campaigns, the constant onboarding.
Upper Echelon, yes. HEX is down 95%. Ethereum is down 85%. Bitcoin is down 75%. The whole crypto market is down. I don't think you should hate on HEX for being down. You should actually click on log right now, because then you would not have such a stupid chart and you would not look that stupid right now, because you need to click log in order to see the changes in the chart. Otherwise, you cannot compare anything in the chart. It's just a line.
Boarding of fresh users who don't know any better, and the restrictive lockup timeframes to keep the public from cashing out, the price of HEX would crater to zero and never come back.
Price going to zero. We are talking about this for years now. The price of a cryptocurrency goes to zero if there is a rug pull. If there is no rug pull, I do not see how a cryptocurrency could go to zero. Let me show you what I'm teaching here. It's a little bit. This shows how a smart contract works in Uniswap. Y times Z equals K, which is then the price, right? So it's just a formula. It's nothing that is made up by an oracle or whatever. So if somebody is selling, a whale decides to sell, he doesn't like HEX anymore, well, the price will go down 95%. And then somebody else sells and the price goes down 99%. And somebody else sells and the price goes down even more. And we will just have more 0, 0, 0, 6, because that's what crypto is. When HEX started, the initial price was like 5 zeros and the 5 or something like this. Well, the price came down enough where people said, well, now I like the price, now I'm going to buy. The God whale, he did not start on the first day. The God whale started buying in March or something like this, a couple of months after HEX was born, right? When I don't know actually what was the price, but it went up from 0.0005 to, where are we, to 2.5 cents. I think this is amazing. Hexicans are still up 250 to 300x compared to Bitcoin, for example.
Richard Hart has exerted great effort to avoid the technical classification of a Ponzi scheme. However, if you look at the reality of what HEX is and how it functions, you'll see that an asset was given to users through an obfuscated airdrop, who then unilaterally expected to get rich. Many of those...
The airdrop was free money. How can you hate on that? I do not understand.
Users were convinced to lock up their funds.
Nobody was convinced. Everybody did it on their own terms. You have to lock your funds with your own seed phrase. You see, only you can do that. Only you can make the decision. And if you see in a flyer that you earn 38% APY for locking up your money, wouldn't you think this is a really genuine and healthy financial decision? I think so. I think it's actually really good to teach the people delayed gratification, to not get your Lambo today, but actually save for the good thing in the future. But Echelon, I think this is a philosophy that you actually need to learn.
Funds for a set reward, which will temporarily stave off the inevitable collapse in price, but eventually inflow of new users to absorb inflation and unlocked selling will fall below a certain threshold, and the entire system will implode.
You see what he did here, like he built like 5 sentences this long, right? Where he took everything that he just learned, really, shallow. He learned it really shallow, did not look into it too much. And we're building this 5 sentence here, 5 really, really long sentence, where everything was just wrong. So let's go back and debunk it.
Off the inevitable collapse, users were convinced to lock up their airdrop, who then unilaterally...
No airdrop, the money was freely given to Bitcoin people, and they decided to get it. It was just a code. In the code, it was said, if you have Bitcoin, you can get free HEX. And people decided to do that. It was not given by a third party.
Really expected to get rich.
Do you expect to get rich in a coin, in cryptocurrency? Well, I think this is why people are investing. The only reason why people are in crypto is not because of the tech. It is because they want to make money.
Many of those users were convinced to lock up their funds.
Nobody was convinced to lock up their funds. Everybody who locked up their funds did it by themselves. Why did they do that? Because you are incentivized in HEX to do so. If you lock up HEX for a certain period of time, you get more HEX. And this statement is true always. As longer you lock up, as more as you lock up, as more you get. It is such a beautiful philosophy.
Funds for a set reward, which will temporarily stave off the inevitable collapse in price, but eventually inflow of new users to absorb inflation and unlocked selling.
Let's go back.
Price, but eventually
collapse in price. Well, it collapsed upwards, right? For 10,000x, nobody foresee that, but Richard. Richard Hart said HEX will do 10,000x, and so it did. Like everybody was just mind blown by this, right? And now, since we have the bear market and HEX is going down 95%, even though this is the best opportunity right now, the haters are hating or 95%, though, even though they should know it's the best opportunity to buy.
Eventually, inflow of new users to absorb inflation and unlocked selling will.
The inflation is delayed in HEX. We have 3.69%. I said that before. The netto inflation in HEX in 2021 was only 1%. So if those people that get the inflation decide to sell, and this is what we have been seeing in the last couple of months, yes, then the price goes down 95%. But keep in mind, upper echelon, Bitcoin is down, Ethereum is down, everything is down because we are in the bear market. Why are you using so bad arguments? I don't understand.
Will fall below a certain threshold, and the entire system will implode. According to community analysis, nearly all of the top 500 wallets that hold HEX right now are directly associated with Richard Heart himself. And while I cannot make a claim with absolute certainty on this, backtracking the origin wallets and the original funding addresses lends a great deal of confidence to the notion that Richard Heart is in full control of over 3/4 of the entire HEX supply. That
what you see here is the OA audit that has been done by a community member. I think this is an amazing tool because it shows the transparency in HEX. Everybody can do such an effort to look into HEX and to look exactly what does each and every address do. And what we see here in this audit of the OA of the biggest holders in HEX is that those OA addresses, they are actually helping the community. How do they do that? By actually owning a big supply. And I think I have the feeling upper echelon will now say it is bad if a big entity holds the biggest supply. But now let's go back into the legacy market. Let's go back to Apple, Facebook, and you can actually name any big startup. The best time to get in was in the beginning when the ownership of coins was centralized. And this is exactly what we see here with the OA. In the beginning, when everything is centralized, in the beginning, Satoshi's coins, Bitcoin was centralized as well, right? This just has to distribute itself. And I think this is what the OA is doing brilliantly. So what is the OA doing? The OA is a big holder of HEX, never sold a single coin. And I think this is really important because it's also something that Satoshi is doing, to not sell the coin, to not hurt the price, differently from so many other founders that then just wait for the top to sell it, like Ethereum, for example. And here we have it in this audit that the OA and the biggest holders of HEX are actually benevolent to the ecosystem. I think this is exactly what you want to see. Me, as a fan of HEX, I like exactly that the OA address is, for example, also staking HEX, but not everything. Only a few % of their HEX is being staked, which means all their other liquid HEX is getting diluted and is not earning more HEX, which gives us, the normal staker, right, the 10% of people that are staking their HEX, a huge ROI of 38% every single year if you have locked up for 6.5 years, obviously.
The origin wallets and the original funding addresses lends a great deal of confidence to the notion that Richard Heart is in full control of over 3/4 of the entire HEX supply. This is a very strange thing because Richard Heart has gone on record with public animosity towards Bitcoin on the basis that an unknown party controls a great deal of supply. Meanwhile, he refuses in all circumstances to acknowledge who owns the origin address of HEX, the sacrifice addresses for Pulse Chain and Pulse X, which contain hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars each, while a strong possibility remains that he owns nearly 9/10 of all circulating HEX tokens.
Dude, let me give you some more bullshit, okay? If Bitcoin were fully adopted, do you think it's okay that an unknown party owns 10% of the coins? You think it's okay that Satoshi owns 10% of the global currency supply? Because you don't know who's in control of the keys, right? So maybe Kim Jong-il becomes control of the keys. Now what, right? So you can't have a fully adopted currency where 10% of it's owned by someone that you don't know who the fuck they are. That don't work, okay?
All of this raises questions, to be sure, but how is it that
I think you guys have seen the long hair of Richard. I like Richard since those early videos are as well, with his long hair, because that's where he was teaching about sci-fi, about being better human beings. And you see that there where he did this video, HEX was not invented yet, right? He just took what works in the real world, Bitcoin was really good because the founder did not sell any coins until now. Like there never has there been any Bitcoin sold by Satoshi Nakamoto. And this is exactly what Richard Hart is doing too. And isn't that exactly what you want to see from somebody like Zuckerberg, like Elon Musk, like holding shares in their own product, having confidence in their own product, in their own abilities, and sharing this with the community? I think this is awesome. I want to have a leader like this. I do not want a Soviet Union where everything is fairly distributed to nobody who deserves it. That's probably how Upper Echelon knows it.
That I can label this community a cult. Well, for starters, how about this?
I get people to stop smoking, stop drinking.
Stop smoking, stop drinking.
Stop gambling.
I never really gambled.
Stop trading, drink more water, be healthier human beings. I've published multiple self-help books for free that you can go download it.
And this is exactly what changed my life. Those videos and self-help books, you can just read, and every single problem of your life, you can just change from there. It's amazing. This is how a lot of Hexicans got into the Richard Hart ecosystem, because they were a fan of him. And this is normally not what entrepreneurs do, to make things to better the people, to make an impact in the world. Normally what we see is that CEOs just grab the money and run. Richard Hart is not like this.
T.me/sci5. I have received thousands of emails from people whose lives I have saved. I've also raised $27 million for medical research to save your life. So as far as people in cryptocurrencies go, I'm basically like a god. Basically like a god. Basically like a god.
HEX is led by an enigmatic, deliberately secretive, and charismatic leader.
Really charismatic leader. And you know what, guys? I don't find it bad of Richard that Richard says, well, I'm the god of crypto. He called the Bitcoin top twice. He changed so many Hexicans' lives by making them financially free. I think Richard Hart should have a special position in this world. I think Richard Hart is right there with Elon Musk, changing the world right now. This is how I see it, at least.
That leader also very likely owns the vast majority of all tokens.
Which it is on the blockchain, and he never sold anything. So Richard Hart is holding up the price from all the paper hands that we see right now. HEX being down 95%, we can be glad that we have such a strong leader not selling any coins, unlike others like Ethereum and Vitalik Buterin, for example.
This leader has referred to himself as a god on more than one occasion and distributes funds to his followers by way of sacrifice.
Well, where does that come from now? Well, no, he is not distributing by anything. Like, you make a sacrifice. We give up our money without having expectations. But where does this information now come from? Let's go back and see if maybe I got something wrong here.
Also very likely owns the vast majority of all tokens. This leader has referred to himself as a god on more than one occasion and distributes funds to his followers by way of sacrifice. While doing so, he uses strong religious themes, evangelical rhetoric, and his followers travel the country in groups attempting to convert new users.
Well, this traveling in groups, well, this is obviously what I did, right? Like, we had the Crypto Sparbuch team. We were a group of 10 people. I see DJ Pollywood here in the chat. He was the best rowdy. We needed to help. We need to have help from the community to help us, like, setting up stuff. And DJ Pollywood was there. He was one of our team members. And we were a team of 10 to 12 people traveling across America, 42 cities in America, free workshops to teach people about what changed our life, because we were a fan of what is happening. It is not because Richard Hart used evangelic rhetoric that we did all this stuff. No, it is because he changed our life, and we are genuinely want to give back. Up Echelon, what is there not to understand? Have you never experienced anything like this?
One example of this is called the 5555 tour, which
horrible name. Horrible name.
Indicates the maximum number of days that HEX can be locked in the system, which saw community members traveling thousands of miles to hold seminars, rewarding prospective new cult members with lottery opportunities.
What? We were supporting people that want to learn, giving them free money out of our own pocket. How can you criticize that, Upper Echelon? Please, it is a genuine thing to make people better. And actually, actually at this point, we can also talk about how HEX makes people better, right? By me locking up my funds and believing into the future, waiting and delaying my gratification, now I have a future for myself. I have hope for myself. Where there was no hope in the beginning, now I can actually live my life to the fullest and be happy that I'm financially secured. How can you hate on that? So many people escaped poverty, escaped drugs and alcohol, escaped being a gambler just because of the product and because of Richard Hart. And why would you hate on that? I do not understand that, Upper Echelon. Please.
Opportunities and reeling them in with promises of massive returns. This
HEX is a smart contract. 2 + 2 is 4, and it will always pay you out. People that came to our seminars, to our workshops, they had understood that. They were able to learn that because they were listening, Upper Echelon. They were doing their own research, taking their time and effort to understand crypto, unlike you, who's just bashing the life of other people, who are giving everything to make this world a better place. What are you doing?
This effort was designed to pump the price of HEX to $7.
HEX to the moon, $7 soon. I think this was a catchy phrase. I like $7. I like the number 7. And crypto can go higher than we ever imagined. You guys don't realize that 56 cents is nothing on the way to $100, right? So that's why I was just trying to come up with a nice slogan for HEX that I could put on a shiny sign that would just make some noise. I can see some criticism there. I don't like those forward-looking statements from myself anymore. I think I'm cringing myself. That's why I'm bringing this up. HEX to the moon, $7 soon. It is really catchy. You guys have to admit that. But it is a forward-looking statement that we do not know when this is going to be true. So that's the first argument and criticism that I see is valid here.
Dollars, but faced with unrelenting downward pressure as a result of inflation and community selling.
This is not because of the inflation. The inflation was the same. Actually, it was not the same. The inflation was the highest in the first year. We had hyperinflation in the first year. We had 1% of netto inflation in 2021. And I'm excited to calculate for 2022 how much actual inflation we had. So the inflation is not the problem why the price is going down. Upper Echelon, I will teach you. The only thing that matters for price is buying and selling. When people buy an asset, the price goes up. When people sell an asset, the price goes down. And since we are in the bear market, since people are realizing we are all going to shit, the stock market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also HEX, I rather sell a little bit now to live my life. I think this is just how a cycle works. And you have to understand that. Oh, I think no, we don't
came
have
on
fun.
board, everyone who invested during the most prominent marketing cycle that the token has ever seen, everyone who succumbed to the pressure of the cult is now down massively and effectively stuck, forced to push the cult's message to anyone who will listen, desperately hoping to find an exit.
So if you bought Bitcoin with $30, like Richard did, and then it goes down to $2, it went down over 90%. Is this a scam? No, it is cryptocurrency. It's just like another company. You have to hold on and wait until the price is appreciation. I think you understand that, Upper Echelon. I think you just wanted to make a nice video that the people click, even though it is hateful, even though it is destroying people like me that were giving up so much of their effort to do something genuine. But you are just hating.
In preparation for this video, I spoke with a number of different sources, one of which was actually present during this national tour, and another who has been involved with HEX since the very beginning. I was also allowed to verify this with private documents and wallet addresses, giving me a high degree of confidence that these whistleblowers are a reputable source of information. According to some of the earliest, most vocal...
I cannot say anything to that. Like, obviously, if he is saying he spoke to people that he did not want to mention, he does not want to give any information who they is, maybe to respect their privacy. So he's just making up claims so you guys believe it. So you guys get fudded out. So you believe his narrative. So you don't better yourself. So you still keep empowering others and not yourself. Upper Echelon, I think you should shift your mindset and go with the Hexicans.
local supporters of HEX as a token who self-identify as having escaped the cult, Richard Hart has led them into a system where it is extremely difficult to break free. Early adopters are forced to wait.
You don't want to break free out of HEX because HEX is giving you everything that you need. Financial freedom, once you have achieved that, then everything in the world is so easy to achieve. Now you start eating healthy. Now you start making good choices. Now you start bettering your world view. But Upper Echelon is hating on that. Upper Echelon does not want to see change. He wants to see the people suffering. You know where Upper Echelon is probably from? Because he is probably an American. Maybe he is from California.
Until there is enough liquidity before they can even turn a profit, which means they're faced with only two options. Either help perpetuate the growth of the cult and thereby allow themselves an exit strategy, maybe, which may in fact be highly profitable.
So you're using a lot of those maybe, most likely words. Like it seems like you don't really know.
Well, or go against the community and likely lose everything. One potential source, who was most likely very familiar with the inner workings of HEX, flat out refused to speak to me, citing that they had a substantial sacrifice bag that they did not want to see damaged as a result of exposing the cult's inner workings. It was, quote, the only reason he stayed in the community, because the reality behind HEX is extremely troubling. Early adopting...
I would like to know the troubles of HEX. That really interests me, because if I want to make this world a better place, I want to know what negative things are people saying about HEX. But so far, I've just heard misinformation and negative things, slandering of people that actually want to make an impact.
Adopting whales are the very first people to unlock their tokens, generally speaking. What do they do?
Let's go back.
Quote, the only reason he stayed in the community, because the reality behind HEX is extremely troubling. Early adopting whales are the very first people to unlock their token.
How is that? That's 100% wrong. The big whales, like let's say the God whale, they are locking up the longest. Let's see, maybe not at the whale. Let's look at the super shark. A prominent member here is Kareem the Dream, who's making the Dream account. Verify on the blockchain how he is staking, a really big guy with a lot of money, staking for 10 to 15 years. So he is in this whale and shark category, being staked out really long. And if I look at all my friends that are whales and sharks in the ecosystem, I talk to them and I ask them, what is your average staking duration? They are all fans of Richard Hart. We all locked up for an average staking duration of 6.5 years. Some more, some less. But I'm telling you, the biggest people in whale, how did they become whales? By locking up their tokens for such a long time, by getting more T-shares, and by delaying the most gratification, by trusting into the system the most. And this is exactly what we want to see in a society, where people put the money where their mouth is, lock it up on the blockchain, immutable forever, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, doesn't matter, but it's really locked in. This gives trust to the whole ecosystem, but Upper Echelon doesn't know that.
Tokens, generally speaking. What do they do? Well, with more circulating theoretical value of HEX than could ever possibly be redeemed for actual cash, they are forced to perpetuate the revolving door of user adoption.
You see, stupid Upper Echelon doesn't know how crypto works, that sellers bring the price down, that buyers bring the price up. When the price of HEX is really good, let's say at the all-time high of 56 cents, yeah, some Hexican whales, some people decided to sell the price down because they decided, okay, now I have enough. Now the price goes down and down. Now we have 95% down. At one point, Upper Echelon, you have to understand that the people will decide that the price of HEX is now great and I want to buy it again and the price will go up, because this is what we have already seen in the lifetime of HEX since the last 3 years. HEX has always recovered from an 80% dip, 75% dip, and so on, just as Bitcoin did in the last 13 years. Don't you understand how these things work? Don't you understand that if the whole world is in a crisis, the people want to grab their money right now and not sell and sell? You know, that's what's bringing the price down.
And take turns selling into these new customers as they create liquidity.
What? Let's go back and let's see what he's saying.
Adoption and take turns selling.
Take turns? Are you stupid? Are you really? Do you think like the whales are talking friendly with each other? Now it's your turn, take money. Now it's your turn, take money. Upper Echelon is living in Soviet Union, where everything is discussed on how to like make this kind of schemes. And that's why he thinks HEX is working the same. HEX is a really competitive system. We have whales fighting against each other, and they want to outcompete each other. They stake longer than each other. They play games with each other. Politics, everything is in there. Why? Because it's a financial instrument, because it's capitalism. There is no friendly words between person A and person B when to cash out. It's a fucking, or I should not swear, it's a war out there in HEX. There is nobody giving somebody else the opportunity to cash out more. This is just not what crypto and finances is. There is, like in the stock market, I think the saying is, there is no free lunch in the stock market, right? And this just makes the example of how rough the market is. Nobody would ever give somebody else the opportunity to gain more than you. And he is saying that whales are talking friendly with each other when to, what the stupid.
Into these new customers as they create liquidity. The new customers, they are typically...
Okay, the new customer is creating liquidity. Probably he does not know how decentralized liquidity works. Somebody provides liquidity so that the outside world can trade on that liquidity. It's actually a really good thing. Obviously, often people criticize that the new people, they are bringing in money, making the price rise, and now people can sell. Well, this is an argument that goes for everything. This goes for Amazon, for Tesla, for the gold, for everything. So there's no argument at all upper echelon.
Typically convinced to lock their investment for a set period of time.
Who is convincing anybody to lock up? It's your decision. Only you can lock up, only you can receive. It's like, who is convincing? It's not like we are playing some kind of, on some games that somebody has to lock up. No, it's your decision, bro.
Waiting helplessly as the liquidity dries up completely, and the value...
Liquidity is drying up completely. Really, really funny. Let's talk about the liquidity in HEX. When HEX started, December 3rd, 2019, HEX was only liquid in the hands or in the wallets of the people and some exchanges. A couple of months later then, the most liquidity in Uniswap was provided by the Hexicans, so the Hexican can trade, buy and sell decentralized their HEX. It was the first time that the coin had so much liquidity on Uniswap. Richard Hart himself made Uniswap popular. And what happened afterwards? Uniswap was the reason for the bull run in 2021. Or was it 2022? In 2021. Uniswap was the reason for the bull run, and Richard Hart made Uniswap popular. But upper echelon doesn't know that.
The value of their investment craters as a result. All the while, more and more tokens are entering circulation, building up a massive glut in the market.
More and more tokens are entering circulation. Well, when this is true, that more and more tokens are entering circulation, it is also true that the average staking duration in HEX goes up and up and up. And more HEX is being staked for longer and longer. How can I prove that? You can go to hex.vision and just look at the blockchain. Everything is transparent in HEX. In the beginning, the average staking duration was 4.5 years. But in the last 3 years, HEX has 100% uptime and flawless operation. The people are trusting the HEX ecosystem more and more and more. And why is that? Because during all of this time, they were able to stake and unstake when other platforms were going down left and right. Celsius is down, FTX is down. When Richard Hart is warning everybody to take funds off those exchanges and do not trust middlemen, upper echelon is hating on the people that getting rid of middlemen, that are doing what crypto is supposed to do, to earn yield by yourself, holding your own money and having no middleman, no other party involved.
In the market that realistically can never be redeemed. When will the circulation?
Okay, we were talking about liquidity. It was HEX had the biggest liquidity on Uniswap, making Uniswap popular. Right now, upper echelon, you can go and take your poor pleb ass and buy and sell HEX liquidity all you want, because there's so much liquidity that your Soviet Union ass would never be able to afford, like to dry up that liquidity. It will just not happen that this liquidity will ever dry up. Why is this? Because it's decentralized liquidity. Every single person in this world, me, you, all my friends, can provide liquidity right now. We don't have to ask anybody. But you don't understand that, are you?
and the value of their investment craters as a result. All the while, more and more tokens are entering circulation, building up a massive glut in the market that realistically can never be redeemed.
You see, this is just wrong. Like, people are able to sell all the time. What do you think? Why the price is down 95%? Because the people are selling, and it's not like they're selling with a lot of slippage. No, there is a lot of liquidity. Just go to dex.screener and look it up, bro. Look it up. Make some research.
When will this overextension unwind? I'm not sure, but when it does, well, that's when people lose everything. Still, all of this so far pertains to HEX directly and the systems behind it, but there is one more thing integral to the prosperity of any cult following, and that is its leader. Richard Hart, also known as Richard Schuller, has a lengthy history before his creation of HEX, some of which is called...
Yes, Richard Hart is just his stage name, right? His real name is Richard James Schuller. So I'm German, that's why I can say this word. It's with a U and then 2 points. It's Schüler, really hard to say. And Richard is a marketing guy. He wants to have his name represent something strong. And having a heart in the name, I think it's just beautiful. Richard Hart, beautiful name. I would change it like this as well. Now I'm a bit hexed up.
It's cause for concern. Richard Hart's own website refers to him as a force for good in this world, yet his fortune, millions of dollars from a very young age,
I think it's billions by now,
was built on an empire of spam. Quote, "My name is Richard Schuller. I'm a 23-year-old multimillionaire, and I'm inviting you to learn how to spam millions of..."
So 23 years old Richard James Schuller doing innovative stuff in a world that is not regulated. The internet just started, and the idea to send out impressions to people for free for just clicking on the computer is outstanding. And Richard Hart was the first to actually go after such an endeavor. I think this is amazing.
Of people per day, like I do. I used to work for usaprescriptions.com, and now I operate my own online pharmacy business, which is Hacker, IRS, and Anti-Spammer Untouchable, and is the single largest spam email marketing company in the world today. End quote. What's more, according to some very early conversations that were actually leaked between Richard Hart and a man named Jonathan Sterling before the HEX token even launched, I believe, Richard Hart was stating that he would soon be true
before the HEX token even launched. That was before anything was, finalized.
About his identity. And yet, years later, after multiple sacrificial funding rounds that very much seem to connect back to him personally, that still isn't the case. Even deeper, there appear to be multiple passports of his under...
So, for upper echelon, it's just not normal. For upper echelon, it's normal to have a passport, to give this passport to the government, to have all your information stolen by Apple, Google, and so on. There is no privacy for upper echelon. He doesn't understand what this is. I'm a perpetual traveler. I'm traveling since 3 years now. I like having my German passport. I like having other passports as well. So I have the freedom to travel, the freedom to transact, the freedom to do whatever I want, to even be anonymous if I want to in a certain country. Upper echelon doesn't understand this kind of capitalism. Maybe he's a couple of years back. I don't know. So is it bad to go to another country, let's say Bahamas, and ask the Bahamas, hey, can I have a passport of you guys as well? Well, they will give you one, gladly. If you go to another country, they will give you passports as well. This is a normal thing. Upper echelon doesn't know that. I bet upper echelon doesn't own a passport. Fun fact, like a few people in America own passports. I think that's what you guys have to work on a little bit.
Under false names from multiple separate countries. Out of respect, I won't share these publicly, but they are allegedly part of a broader conspiracy in which contract murder took place, leading to Richard Hart eventually fleeing the country of Panama with an urgent cry for help to the Panama American Citizen Services.
Like upper echelon does, like he found something outrageous here. Richard Hart is talking about this all the time, right? Richard Hart wants the people to know why he flew from Panama, because he got robbed, because he got tired of this kind of government. Richard Hart is saying, go where you're treated best. And this ain't in America. This ain't in South America for him. For him, this is in Europe. Because this guy is so rich that he needs some kind of privacy, security, and Panama was just not that. So upper echelon is rephrasing everything in such a negative way just to make his case to bring down other people so he can have a lot of views and get probably a lot of ad revenue from this kind of stuff by bringing other people down. I think this is disgusting to me.
Once again, even further, established by a lawsuit in 2002, Richard Hart.
2002. So this is now, what, 20 years old?
Or rather, his actual identity, Richard Schuller, was one of the very first people in the world to be successfully sued for online spam.
And how much did he got sued? I think here it says, claims court ruling against 4 separate spammers for $500 each. 20 years ago, Richard Hart did something where he got fined for $500, and Upper Echelon now brings it up in a video. 100,000 people see it, slandering my name, slandering the Hex community, bringing down people, doing the exact opposite of what he wants to do. I believe he truly wants to help, but because he's doing it from a negative mindset of just slandering and bring other people down, he's actually achieving the opposite. He is actually the opposite. He's achieving the opposite of what he wants to do.
Indicating that he may be extremely familiar with emerging unregulated industries or technologies and may have, historically speaking, used that lack of regulation to take advantage of people with unethical and predatory business tactics. Richard Hart previously sold anti-aging cures, among other ventures, landing himself the title of Spam King. And after finding himself on what seems to be...
Richard Hart donated $27 million to medical research that will save all of our lives. What have you ever done besides bringing other people down, Upper Echelon?
The receiving end of a robbery in Panama, perhaps as a result of the criminal ring he may or may not have been associated with, where accusations of alleged activity include extortion, blackmail, and robbery. He seems to have fled the country and moved on to crypto. The cult of Hex is a complicated creature, created by a man who has referred to himself on more than one occasion as God, designed to dodge the legal structure of securities and taxation policy, formed around the concept of sacrifice rather than investment, and reinforcing participation by locking members inside as long as humanly possible.
The members decide themselves how much they want to earn because only they can do it. Upper Echelon, I think you should do a little bit more research on how things are doing before you slander them.
Hex is a brilliantly constructed financial cult.
Hex is a brilliantly financial system to make the people rich. You are absolutely right.
With members who will stop at nothing to help it succeed.
Absolutely right again. I'm surprised, Upper Echelon, the people of Hex will stop at nothing to make it successful. Why? Because it changed my life. And I want the people that I'm coming in contact with to have the same opportunity. It is just genuine of me. I do not want to walk by a family that is hungry and cannot feed their kids. But for you, living in California, this is probably normal in Silk Road, isn't it? Living on the streets, having people be hungry, being abusive of drugs and alcohol. This is what you like to see, I think, is it? When Richard Hart is doing the opposite, making the world a better place, helping the people to have a future, not slandering people.
This video could be 4 hours long. While researching and discussing with sources,
I think my video is like 4 hours long.
I was made aware of an instance that strongly points towards $26 million being siphoned out of a sacrificial address and put directly back into manipulating the market price of Hex itself. I learned about a prior token created by Richard Hart called CFD, which utterly...
CFD token was an idea before Hex. It never came to fruition. It has nothing to do here. Also, what you are showing right now with these slandering of money or laundering of money to pump the Hex, I don't see that. Like, where is the actual proof of that? Could you show me?
Utterly failed, with much of the evidence deleted or pulled down. I was given countless clips where the development structure of the project changed from an Ethereum fork to a Binance.
He's talking about different things. He does not know himself what is going on, and that's why he's just throwing out words here. So let's go back for a couple seconds.
Which utterly failed.
So first he's here talking about what?
I learned about a prior
laundering of money and pumping the price
token
and yeah.
Created by Richard
Manipulating
Hart,
everything, right?
Called CFD, which...
Now he's talking about CFD, which was a product before Hex, but which was just an idea and never came to fruition.
Utterly failed, with much of the evidence deleted or pulled down.
Because it never became something.
I was given countless clips where the development structure of the project changed from an Ethereum fork.
This was not an Ethereum fork. This was not BSC fork. This was its own project. And now what he's confusing is the Pulse chain, right? Fork that we had was BSC and is now Ethereum 2.0, which I think is amazing.
To a Binance fork, or a nearly insurmountable number of examples where the project has been delayed week after week, month after month, soon perhaps year after year, because it seems.
I don't think it's like a 10-year thing, bro. I think it was like for 1 or 2 years going on, the idea of trying to do something innovative in crypto, which then never came out because it was just not a good idea. He said it himself, and that's why he invented HEX. That's way better to grasp for the people.
It seems that the project, or products rather, don't actually exist. But for the sake...
Wait. Can we go back here for a second?
Because it seems that the project, or products rather...
He knows that we are products, that we are finished, immutable products that nobody can change. Upper Echelon, I think it's the 3rd time now that I have to give you a thumbs up for your research. We are a finished financial product and not a project.
Don't actually exist. But for the sake of time, I'll wrap it up with this. HEX influencers, many of the largest whales.
Well, I have made a video and you guys can check it out. I do not call myself an influencer anymore. I am now a financial scientist. I think this puts it way more on the head.
Responsible for the most aggressive marketing maneuvers, contributing to the rise of the token price during the initial pump, such as the 5555 tour, where they traveled the country looking for new investors.
We were not looking for new investors, bro. We were educating the people. We were making free workshops where the people could win 5,555 HEX, which was around $3,000 back then. People loved to get free money. People loved to get the education in crypto because we showed them how to get a decentralized wallet with MetaMask, right? How to get your own wallet with Staker app. That's an internal thing in HEX. How does HEX work? How can you earn trustless yield without trusting a third party, a government or a bank, and make your own money with your money that you have? This is what we provided for the people as education. And we did not like make anybody stake or pressured anybody to do this or this. I think you're using harmful wording here just to go after your own goals, which is getting likes and views. And I think this is disgusting.
Have been subpoenaed by the SEC.
Yes, this is true. Hexicans have been subpoenaed, and I would not. It could probably be Upper Echelon who is doing all of this SEC stuff and is doing research to harm people that want to make the world a better place, and is then giving out information that he found, even though it's wrong. That's the problem in this world. People are coming to conclusion with their own terms, with their own opinions. Being wrong or right doesn't matter, and they're crying really, really loud, putting those informations down, even though it's going to slander somebody else. A group of people that just wants to be genuine, want to give back to the people, want to help, and not put down other people. Yes, HEX is looked after from the SEC if somebody is paying HEX influencers, if they get paid by anybody to do what we are doing. The answer is just plain and simple, no. We talk about HEX because we love the product, and the SEC will just not find anything, in my opinion.
Regulators are starting to take notice.
And I think, regulators also look into Facebook. Regulators also look into everything. This is what regulators do. You understand that, right? And how else would they work?
Just because a project has avoided the technical wording of a Ponzi scheme right now with new technology or a multi-level marketing scam doesn't.
HEX is not a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi needs new people to come in to survive. In HEX, it's just a smart contract that pays out tokens that it produces itself. It can always pay me out if I want to end stake, unlike your knowledge. Let's go back again.
Wording of a Ponzi scheme, right?
It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's not an MLM. Why? Because there is no multi-level. If there is no multi-level in a multi-market leveling scheme, where is the multi-level, bro? I do not understand it. So it's not a Ponzi. It's not multi-level. What else?
Now with new technology or a multi-level marketing scam doesn't mean that it's functionally different. For the people stuck inside, it's a prison. And
how is it a prison? Even if you have made a stake that you don't like because it's too long, 10 years, you can emergency unstake. You can say, I did the wrong decision. And even though I put this wrong decision on the blockchain, I want to get my money back. Well, then under certain rules and conditions, you will get your HEX back. Obviously, if you emergency unstake, you will have to pay an emergency fee, because it's not fair. If you told everybody in the system that you will stake for 10 years, I think you should be held accountable. This is how capitalism works, bro. Not in Soviet Union here.
And I feel for you, but pushing this project on others in a desperate attempt to dig yourself out of such a hole is not an ethical thing to do.
You know what is not ethical to do? To go after people that want the best for the world and slander them. I think this is not ethical to do. Just to get a couple of clicks. You have 600,000 followers. Now giving them misinformation about HEX, about me, about my team, I think this is disgusting.
Eventually, the number of people joining the cult will be smaller than the number of people trying to.
Well, eventually the number of people that come into HEX is greater than people are leaving HEX. Everything is on the blockchain and you can check that out.
That seems to be the case already. And when that balance is too far disrupted, it all comes crashing down.
It is crashing down right now because the only thing that matters for price is buying and selling in the price. The people are in the bear market, they are selling right now. But we will find another bull market and HEX will go up again, since it did this the last 10 times. And you will be surprised, Echelon.
For right now, HEX remains some sort of twisted
While everything is going down left and right, Celsius down, FTX down, I don't even know how many other exchanges down. My favorite exchange that I advertised in Germany is down right now. In Germany even. Can you imagine? So everything is going down left and right, but HEX is staying strong. It's not down. It's down in price, 95%. But I can still earn and get my yield every single time that I want. But Upper Echelon doesn't know that. He doesn't care. He just wants to slander people and just make the world a worse place, even though we are working on to make it a better place.
Financial cult hybrid that continues to find fresh victims each and every day. Its community displays great devotion, not only to Richard Hart, a charismatic quasi-religious authority figure, but also to the idea of financial freedom. From every direction, every angle, and every perspective, I believe that HEX fulfills all existing criteria as an actual legitimate cult of worship, only instead of divine power.
Well, your opinion doesn't matter at all. You are just a YouTuber giving opinions about other people. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people take your opinion serious because you have a couple numbers there and a high subscriber number. I think this is disgusting. It speaks not for the world, unfortunately, what is going on here. It is just speaking for this upside down world that we live in, that people are hating on people that are making the world a better place. I cannot believe it. I'm outrageous. The video is almost over. Let's bring it to an end.
They worship at the altar of Richard Hart and crypto. However, when that finally changes, and change it will, the fallout will be extreme. That's it. If you want to support, please check out the links down below.
I don't think you should support. I actually think you should go there, write a comment, and tell him why he is wrong. Let's go into the comments here for a little bit, because I was replying as well. 2 weeks ago, you already see. Let me read and show you what I have written there. People have been fighting HEX since its launch. This is not new to us. In fact, Hexicans just celebrated 3 years of flawless operation and 100% uptime. The HEX smart contract still runs like intended. Haters said it would be dead by now, but the opposite is true. Every single day, people can stake and unstake to earn more HEX. Meanwhile, other platforms that promise 7% or 8% yield are going down left and right. Richard Hart is the best person in crypto, and he changed many lives with HEX. That's why we have such an awesome community. We want to share this with everybody. As soon as people look deeper into HEX and Richard Hart, they will FOMO into PulseChain and PulseX. They will understand what this is, that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Something like this has never been done before. So thanks for making this video, even though you butchered my story. I think you totally butchered my story, and I'm today more aggressive than the last 2 weeks when I saw that the first time. And let's see what we have as comments here. But overall, obviously, I want to say, Upper Echelon, I think it's awesome that you did this video. All press is good press. Now people will be confronted with HEX. They will look into it. They will even look into my amazing story. And they will realize, if this dude can do it, then I can do it too. And this is exactly my story. If I can live in the box for 1 year, delay my gratification with HEX, and become become financially free, then everybody can do it. Let's look into the comments here. I'm excited to see. So Neo is saying, I will give you metaphor for HEX. Imagine a carousel with chairs on it. The amount of it's going to turn out stupid. Let's not read everything here. I think it's really interesting to go here. I think you guys should go into the comments of this video as well. I do not actually now I'm seeing that I like this video. I do not want to like this video. I want to give it a dislike. And you should also go into the comments. Be fair, obviously. He made 3 valid points. I forgot what it was now. I think that HEX is a product, not a project. That HEX is designed to go up in price, and that Richard Hart is a charismatic leader. He was right on those 3 things. I think on this we did really good research. On the other things, not so much. Let's check. Are we at the end of the video? It's only 30 seconds. Oh, yeah. He was just saying how he wants... He is just saying how he wants... Just had to turn down the music here. Sorry, guys. He was just saying how he wants everybody to participate and like and subscribe. I told you guys to not do that. Go into the comments, though, and give HEX the voice that it deserves, because HEX cannot speak for itself. HEX is just a smart contract. We, the community, are the voice of HEX, and not even Richard Hart can express HEX voice as the community can do that. So you guys, let's go into the comments. Let's educate the people what HEX actually is. And now I also want to go into the chat a little bit here and say hello to everybody. Yori Hex, Vets Crypto, DJ Pollywood, our Roddy from the 5555. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Vets in Crypto, he's saying, remember when the little girl won, it melted hearts. Everything is documented really well. Truth is on the Hexican side. Exactly. While we were doing the tour, everything was documented. All the footage of the testimonials that we were able to receive from the Hexicans is rolled out right now on KSB TV. I think you guys should go to KSB TV right after this video. Go down in the description there. You'll probably find a link. And there are a couple of testimonials that are really heartwarming. And speaking of those testimonials, there are more to come on KSB TV. We've been just in San Diego celebrating 3 years of HEX birthday, and I was able to get an amazing story in HEX, and you are able to see it too. And as long as I'm not able to do that, go to KSB TV and check out all the videos that I have done so far already. Matty is here in the house as well. He is saying, sup, you all. Thanks for streaming, Abed. You rock. Matty, thank you so much. Actually, I want to stream more and more and more. I want to do more and more and more, especially when I see people like Upper Echelon doing so hateful videos and saying wrong things about the things I love. So HEX pulsating. The SEC will learn that many HEX influencers cashed out of HEX at the top with the help of Richard Hart pumping pull chain, which never materialized in 2 weeks. Our age friends cashed out, SEC on it. Well, yeah. HEX pulsating has his opinion here. Maybe I should not just read every comment, but he sees that the SEC is looking into HEX. And as HEX is getting bigger and bigger, I think it is just normal for a government operation like the SEC to look into stuff like this. But since I have traveled all across America and talked to all the Hexicans there are, I talked to Mehdi, I talked to Kareem, I talked to Cabana, I talked to everybody. I know that nobody is getting paid by Richard Hart or another entity to do the things we love. And I think it's also really easy to prove this. Go to our YouTube channel, check our Instagram, check our TikTok. I think we are all really genuine and just normal people that want to live their normal life talking about the things that we love. Guys, I think it's awesome that you're all here 2 hours with me ranting about this stupid video about Upper Echelon, from Upper Echelon, about HEX being a cult. I think I was able to debunk everything that he was saying in there. It was a little bit stupid to have every single sentence stop and then being needed to correct him. He did not do a lot of research. I think he looked into HEX really shallow, and I was able to debunk all of his arguments there. So if ever somebody is saying HEX is a scam, I think you can just point him to my video here on Abed HEX and tell him that HEX is not a cult, HEX is not a scam. And now I actually realize you're probably also watching that on KSB TV right now on YouTube and I'm here only looking into the ABIT HEX chat, guys, I'm sorry if you were waiting for a response. I was looking into the ABIT_HEX chat. And if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, you should do that, because those hateful comments by Upper Echelon, they have just outraged me. And I want to do more than I ever did before. I want to do even more than I did on the 5555 tour. And that's why you guys will see me here online forever, talking about HEX, talking about pull chain, and about the most innovative products that we all love. Thanks, guys, for all being here. If you have any questions, just send me a DM on Twitter, for example, and let's have a chat. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe, and then we see us in a couple of days. I will now end the stream. Bye-bye, everybody.